I woke up to a miracle today. Triggers stay as I find my way. No judgment to lead astray. In this peaceful state I'll stay.
Welcome to this exploration. We are definitely stepping into the deeper territory of the workbook now. We're focusing on these later lessons that promise a pretty fundamental shift in how we perceive reality itself.
It's a privilege to be sharing this space with you. Today, we're undertaking an exploration of Lesson 336. It tackles that deeply ingrained illusion of isolation we all carry.
Right.
This lesson is a powerful culmination of everything we've practiced so far. It suggests that the moment we truly let go of judgment, that act itself becomes the undeniable proof that our minds are entirely joined.
And that concept, that forgiveness doesn't just say make a relationship better, but that it actually reveals our minds are joined. That's the core of our discussion today.
It is.
Our mission here is to look rigorously at what forgiveness actually does to our perception. I mean, how it systematically dismantles the walls we build between ourselves and others.
And how that process shifts our entire experience from separation to undeniable unity. We are definitely past the introductory definitions at this point. This stage of the practice requires us to move beyond just an intellectual understanding. We have to start applying these concepts to the deeper foundational assumptions we make about the world.
The assumptions that are holding the belief in separation in place.
That's it. We're moving from, simple behavior modification to a profound internal perceptual shift. Accepting the promise of this lesson means recognizing that our judgments aren't our protection. They're actually the sole mechanism enforcing our isolation.
Before we dive into the text itself, we do want to hear from you.
Yeah.
We always encourage you to share your experiences, especially as these lessons get more conceptually challenging.
We do.
Please send your questions, your comments to ACIM@theworldharmonyproject.org. You can also connect with us and follow our practice notes on TikTok and YouTube. Just search for the handle at the World Harmony Project.
Your feedback is so crucial to this project. We find that the most profound insights often come from practitioners sharing how they navigate these sometimes difficult instructions in their daily lives.
Absolutely.
But for now, let's quiet our minds, maybe take a deep breath, and listen to the profound words of the lesson we're exploring today.
Lesson 336. Forgiveness lets me know that minds are joined.
Forgiveness is the means appointed for perception's ending.
Knowledge is restored after perception first is changed, and then gives way entirely to what remains forever past its highest reach.
For sights and sounds at best can serve but to recall the memory that lies beyond them all.
Forgiveness sweeps away distortions and opens the hidden altar to the truth.
Its lilies shine into the mind and call it to return and look within, to find what it has vainly sought without.
For here, and only here, is peace of mind restored, for this the dwelling place of God himself.
In quiet may forgiveness wipe away my dreams of separation and of sin.
Then let me, Father, look within and find. Your promise of my sinlessness is kept. Your word remains unchanged within my mind. Your love is still abiding in my heart.
That reading offers such tremendous relief.
Because it reframes forgiveness entirely, doesn't it? It takes it out of the realm of feeling, that need to feel warm or generous towards someone who seems to have wronged you.
Yes, and it places it squarely into the realm of function. This text describes forgiveness not as a virtue, but as a mechanism that actively changes our reality.
That is the essential insight we have to spend time on. Forgiveness as function, not as a definition.
That's it. The lesson defines it as the means appointed for perception's ending. That's a highly specific, almost surgical description.
A designated tool.
The only tool, really, that's capable of transitioning the mind out of this dualistic world of perception, the world where we see separate bodies, conflicting interests, the potential for attack, and into the unified state of knowledge.
And this transition isn't just random or instantaneous. The text lays out a very clear three-part process, which I think is often missed when we read this too quickly.
I agree. What do you see as the parts?
Well, first, perception is changed. It's purified, right? It's made whole, distortion-free. And then, only then, does that change perception give way entirely to the restoration of knowledge.
Precisely. We're not aiming for the immediate annihilation of everything we currently see. We're aiming for purification first.
Okay.
You could think of perception as a kind of film over the mind's eye. Forgiveness first cleans the film, making it clear that's the change.
Right.
Once that purified sight is achieved, the film, since it's no longer needed, it just dissolves. It allows the pure light of knowledge to shine through.
And knowledge, by its very nature, remains forever past the highest reach of perception.
Yes, meaning that no matter how clearly we see the world of form can never actually be the truth.
This connects directly to the role of the external world, then, the sights and sounds. The text is very clear that these forms, at best, can only serve to recall the memory of what lies beyond them.
So if forgiveness is the means,
Then the world we see becomes the classroom. It's the place where that memory gets restored. It means the frustrating colleague, the noisy neighbor, that political disagreement. These aren't problems to be solved.
they're cues.
Yes, they're cues designed to remind us that there is something true and unified beyond their specific form.
Absolutely. If we see a painful sight or hear an annoying sound, forgiveness asks us to recognize the purpose of that experience.
And its purpose isn't to validate our grievance.
No. Its purpose is to serve as a pointer back to the memory of our unity. We use the form to transcend the form. And this is why the lesson states that forgiveness sweeps away distortions. Our grievances are the distortions. They're the smudges on that film of perception.
They're the interpretation that blocks the memory.
Exactly.
The lesson then offers this beautiful, peaceful image of the destination. The lilies shining into the mind, calling it to return to the hidden altar to the truth. The symbolism there really deepens.
Lilies traditionally represent purity, peace, and often resurrection. Especially in this context, they symbolize the sinlessness of our true nature. They're the spotless, perfect manifestation of peace, and they're shining into the mind, which implies they were always there, just covered up.
And the hidden altar isn't something we build.
No, it's the intrinsic internal dwelling place of peace, the part of the mind that never left its source. It's hidden only because we've been looking everywhere else except within.
That line that the lilies call it to return and look within to find what it has vainly sought without, it implies that every time we've chased success or validation, safety, love in the world of forms and relationships, careers, possessions, we were engaged in a futile search.
A vain search. We're looking externally for what was already enshrined and waiting internally, right there on that spotless altar.
So forgiveness is just the process of stopping the external search, turning inward, and discovering the peace that was never lost.
And if that altar is the dwelling place of God himself, then the peace we restore there is absolute. It can't be conditional on external events.
That gives forgiveness an entirely new gravity. It's not just a kind gesture.
No, it's a radical realignment of the mind's attention from the ephemeral chaos outside to the eternal stillness within.
And this philosophical framework, it leads directly to the core psychological benefit, which is dismantling the illusion of isolation.
Yes.
When we hold on to a grievance, we aren't just angry at a person or a situation. We're actively choosing to isolate ourselves. We're asserting that our experience, our perception, is fundamentally separate from everyone else's.
The lesson connects grievances directly to the experience of loneliness. The separation we feel isn't an objective fact of existence.
It's the product of our mental narrative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We feel lonely because we choose to believe we've been wronged or disrespected or misunderstood.
Yeah.
And these beliefs function as impenetrable walls.
Let's really delve into this practical side of it using some real-world resistance. The emotional investment we have in being right often feels more important than peace, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
If I maintain that my bank wronged me or my colleague insulted me, I gain an identity. I become the victim, the righteous one, the one who deserves better. We trade our unity for that small, bitter comfort of superiority.
I can give you a pretty detailed example from my own recent experience, building on that story about the property management.
Please.
It wasn't just an annoyance that the staffer ghosted me on a repair. I went through 3 days of this internal monologue.
And the thoughts weren't just, this is inconvenient.
They were, this shows a systemic lack of respect for my time and my property.
Wow.
And if I don't fight this, I am allowing myself to be walked over.
That is the construction of separation in real time. You were creating this elaborate narrative where the staffer became the symbol of disrespectful authority, and you became the justified, put-upon tenant.
Yes.
You built a wall around the fortress of your perceived victimhood.
That's a perfect way to put it. I was so invested in the me versus her story. And the lesson's instruction to forgive, it seemed impossible at first. Because giving up the grievance meant giving up the identity of the disrespected one.
Right. Who are you without that story?
Exactly. If I forgave her, if I recognized that her behavior was just a sight or sound, trying to recall a memory, then I had to let go of my sense of entitlement to specific preferential treatment. And that felt like dissolving myself.
That internal resistance is so crucial to understand. The distortion the lesson aims to sweep away is precisely that belief. The belief that our worth is defined by how others behave toward us.
Yes.
When you define yourself as a victim of her perceived negligence, you solidify the belief that your mind is a private territory that can be invaded or disrespected.
That's it. And forgiveness is the acceptance that my value is internal and absolute. It's entirely untouched by a repair schedule or a property manager's communication skills.
And what happened when you accepted that?
The moment I truly accepted that her action had zero bearing on my fundamental identity or my peace, the entire structure of the grievance just wrong. It collapsed. I stopped seeing her as a villain. I started seeing the situation as a trivial inconvenience that had served its purpose.
Which was?
It showed me how quickly I was willing to define my self-worth through external validation. The isolation, that fortress, it just evaporated because the judgment that built it was withdrawn.
This reminds me so vividly of my experience dealing with a faceless institution. You know, the bank fraud alert freezing my card mid-checkout. It's a slightly different target, but the psychological mechanism is identical.
Oh, that's often more challenging, I think, because there's no single person to project onto.
Yeah.
The grievance is directed at an abstract impersonal system.
Great. So I'm standing there, the card declined, the cashier is waiting, other customers are shuffling their feet. The immediate internal reaction wasn't logical at all. It was pure, hot shame and rage.
I could imagine.
And the thoughts were just racing. The system is trying to punish me. This is utterly humiliating and unprofessional. How dare they freeze my access to my own money?
So you created an instant island.
A perfect island of isolation surrounded by walls of humiliation and anger directed at this invisible bank god who was actively messing up my life.
And that anger, that humiliation, that investment in the external form, the functional plastic card, that is the grievance. And the grievance is instantly your isolation.
Yes.
The text instructs us that the sights and sounds, the declined card, the impatient cashier, the horrible hold music you anticipate hearing later, they're merely distractions. They're forms attempting, however clumsily, to recall the truth.
So the practice in that moment requires a radical shift, looking past the event itself. I have to look past the decline card and the public embarrassment and instead look at the internal state that's reacting.
Why is this causing such panic?
Exactly. Why is this plastic card, this temporary setback, causing such existential panic? It's because I had tethered my sense of safety and dignity to its functionality.
And this brings us perfectly to section 3. It's that critical contrast between seeking without and looking within.
Right.
In that checkout scenario, seeking peace without involves reacting externally, complaining loudly, demanding the cashier call a manager, frantically trying to troubleshoot the card.
Or just wishing desperately that the bank representative would magically solve the problem right now. Seeking peace without means insisting that the world conform to my expectation of seamless efficiency.
Absolutely. And looking within, however, requires an immediate halt to that external fight. It requires taking that vital breath and recognizing that your intrinsic safety, your inherent dignity, your perfect sinlessness, they are not and can never be reliant on a piece of plastic.
Or the efficiency of a massive corporation.
Never. This requires forgiving the situation for not being what your ego demanded it be. It's forgiving the dream of the perfect grocery store experience.
And the result of that internal shift is the dissolution of the separation. The frustration subsides, the identity shifts.
You stop being the victim.
I stopped being the humiliated victim fighting the system, and I could actually connect with the cashier, who was probably just as frustrated as I was. We became two people standing together, witnessing the absurdity of the system.
The wall came down.
The wall I built with my anger vanished, and connection was immediately restored.
And that connection, that restoration of unity, is the tangible proof of the lesson's promise. Forgiveness lets me know that minds are joined. You didn't have to convince the cashier you were joined. The joining was simply revealed when your grievance, your self-imposed isolation, subsided.
We find this separation battleground constantly, don't we? Not just with corporations or strangers, but in our most intimate settings.
Oh, every day.
The ultimate battleground of separation in many relationships is the argument over everyday maintenance, like emptying the dishwasher.
It sounds funny, but it is deeply serious. Because those minor annoyances are the constant opportunities we use to assert separate identities. They're the daily practice ground for fortifying the ego.
When I lived with a roommate, I would constantly fall into this trap. I'd walk into the kitchen, see the overflowing dishwasher, and immediately feel this tightening in my chest.
Monologue begins.
Instantly. My internal monologue would start. I am the responsible one. She is the careless, disrespectful one. I was asserting a moral and functional superiority.
You gained an identity.
Yes, the identity of the martyr who does all the work, and she became the villain who doesn't care.
So you built two separate walled identities defined solely by your conflict over an appliance. And the lesson is telling you that the only functional purpose of that situation was to give you an opportunity to dismantle those labels.
And the mechanism for dismantling is that core principle that giving and receiving are one.
Right.
By giving my roommate grace, by refusing to assign her the role of the careless villain, I receive peace. I keep my own altar clean. If I make her wrong, I am necessarily making myself miserable.
Because you've chosen a fortress of isolated righteousness over the joy of shared peace.
Exactly. We have to confront the deep, abiding psychological need we have for that grievance. We think that judgment protects us. We think it affirms our value and our worth.
But as you said, it imprisons us. The one problem is the belief that we can be separate from our source and each other, and that this difference grants us some kind of special, superior status.
And the one solution
Is the miracle. The change in perception brought about by forgiveness that shows us our perfect shared sameness.
that movement requires us to fully embrace the instruction to look within. When we look without, we're fighting the environment. We're fighting the bank, the dishwasher, the property manager, the weather, the government.
We're constantly demanding that external forms change to suit our internal comfort.
And looking within means pausing that automatic reactive response. It means stepping back from the immediate judgment.
And recognizing that the peace, the safety, the security we desperately crave are not reliant on those external forms ever cooperating with us. It involves forgiving the situation for its failure to meet our expectations, which dismantles the entire structure of separation.
The greatest fear we encounter when we attempt this practice, especially this late in the workbook, is the fear of disappearing.
Yes.
If I start being the victim of the system, if I stop being the responsible one fighting the careless one, who am I? We have defined ourselves so completely by our battles. We wear the labels. I am the survivor of that injustice, or I am the moral voice fighting this corruption.
We cling to these defensive identities because they feel tangible, they feel real. They grant us a sense of purpose within the dream of separation.
And the lesson asks for an absolute trade.
It does. Give up the defensive identity, that fortress built on grievances, for the lilies of peace, certainty, and unchanging sinlessness. We fear that certainty, ironically, because it requires us to surrender our specialness.
But the gain is monumental. When I stop fighting the bank or the dishwasher, The specific gain is realizing that the world is no longer happening to me.
That's the shift.
I stop being the effect of external forces and remember my function as the cause, the dreamer of the dream.
It's the ultimate acceptance of the atonement, which, in simple terms, is the correction of the error of separation. When we accept this correction, the world stops being a threatening battleground. It becomes merely a stage for practice.
A series of lessons.
The series of lessons that just point us back to the memory of our unity.
That brings us back to the unshakable stability found in that closing prayer. Your word remains unchanged within my mind. This is the anchor point. No matter the level of external chaos, how many cards decline, how many people disrespect us, how many battles we think we lose, the truth of who we are is utterly untouched. We are joined, whole, and perfectly safe.
The external chaos cannot, by definition, reach the internal dwelling place of God Himself. Forgiveness is nothing more complicated than the determined act of clearing away the debris, the distortions, the grievances that we have willfully piled up over the years.
Just to see what was already there?
Simply to reveal the truth of our unchanging identity and the perfect sinlessness that has always been maintained within us.
The profound relief offered by Lesson 336 is the realization that this internal peace is not something we have to strive for or earn. It is already kept.
It's already there.
We simply have to look within and find that your promise of my sinlessness is kept. Your word remains unchanged within my mind. Your love is still abiding in my heart. The entire practice of the workbook is the training required to stop looking without and finally look within.
And this means the practice today isn't about finding better ways to communicate with the property management staffer or the roommate.
No.
It is about withdrawing our perception from the external battleground entirely. It's realizing that the only problem was the belief that our mind could exist separately and therefore be attacked or victimized.
This lesson, maybe above all others, serves as a powerful reminder that we don't need to successfully fix the world's problems or even our local relationship problems in order to find peace. We simply need to clear our vision.
That's a great way to put it.
Forgiveness is the act of wiping the lens of perception clean. You could say it's the wiper blades on our windshield. It clears the grime so we can see that we are all, without exception, traveling on the same road, sharing the same light, and headed toward the same realization of perfect unity.
And as we move through our day, facing what may seem like minor irritations, a slow driver, an inefficient email thread, a persistent worry, we should hold in mind that each moment is a fresh opportunity to wipe that glass clean. Every minor irritation is a reminder to look past the form and remember our connection. Keep looking within for that hidden altar, for the certainty of your sinlessness. It is there, and it is waiting for your return.
Carry that insight with you. Let every interaction today be a conscious choice to recognize the unity beyond the form. Choose the peaceful truth of your joined mind instead of the isolated dream of grievance. We wish you a beautiful and deep practice until our next exploration.